I'm like telling all my guys, I'm like, dude, this Asian guy, he's coming in hot with a driver and an assistant. Like, he's like, I need a deal by tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And if it's not signed, I'm going with them. And like, he's like,
dude, I was hard closing.
Yeah,
right
he's
there.
like, I need the money.
Pressing.
He's like, I'm going to be this, and this. And he's just like coming at me hard. And I was like, wow, this guy's like very direct and very upfront. Like, this is not my normal recruiting meeting. I'm not ready for this.
I was definitely putting the screws on people that day.
Dude, I was like,
oh, dude, it was tough to handle.
It was so hard. Like, I want to have this kind of dinner, this kind of sign on, this kind of this. All right, everybody, this is Sam Taggart with the DDD Podcast, and I have a very special treat, and this is going to be a story of a lifetime, and this is a personal friend, Brandon Glover, on this podcast. Before we dive in, we have the Sales Summit coming up March 17th through the 20th out in South Carolina, so make sure you get your ticket. There's only 100 spots left, or total. We got about 40 left. But anyway, this, like... I don't even know how to explain this one until we get into it. So just stay with us.
It's gonna be a fun one.
This will probably be a really fun podcast. Yeah. So first off, let me give the backstory. So Brandon Glover, he sold. Did you start at Solar City?
Dude, yeah, Solar City like 2013.
2013. So he was in solar before I was, like a couple years, and I was recruiting him to Solcius.
Yes.
And we'll get into the story in depth. But now, you know, last year, he went through a lot of transitions and stuff like that. Last year in March, he only had 35 reps out here in Florida. Now he's got 158 reps. You know, they did 550 something deals last quarter.
558 last quarter.
558 deals last quarter.
We're cranking 110 a week right now. We're projected to do 1,100 on the quarter.
That's in solar, guys. That's like a lot of deals. And it's been really fun to watch Brandon. I mean, I've known Brandon since 2015, 16?
Yeah, dude. It's been a minute, like almost like 7-8 years now. You're like one of my oldest friends in door to door.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's like, no, seriously. Bro, I remember like when you were like first building out the solar companies, and like I remember when you were like, this door-to-door thing, are you like started to cultivate like bringing all of us guys together? And like I remember when you like first started the mission, like his first mission was to like, I just want to like get integrity in the business and like bring everyone together. And like the mission you were on there, and to like see what you've grown into, it's like, it's humbling. And yeah.
Thanks,
dude,
man.
It is.
So I'm gonna tell you the recruiting story before we get into like the nuts and bolts. Can we do this?
Yeah, dude, I have nothing to hide. Let's open up. Let's open up here and get ready.
I'm recruiting. Okay, this is gonna get raw. I'm recruiting Brandon to Solcius, and he had Solar City. He was like, I'm outie. I don't want to be here anymore. So he was shopping. Like he was shopping.
100%.
Like going after a few people, and you know he's like, hey. He sounded like only text. I couldn't Facebook stalk him. He didn't have any like images, so I had no idea who this guy is. So we're texting, and he's like, "Hey, fly me out tomorrow, 7 o'clock." I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "But I need 3 flights. I need my assistant and my driver." I was like my assistant and my driver? I'm
That's
like,
a real story.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, he's bringing a driver to his recruiting meeting? I was like, okay. So I had to buy 3 plane tickets, not 1.
I know.
He shows up, he's got this hot blonde chick, and and then he's got this big old black dude, driver, bouncer dude. And I was like, what the heck? And I thought he was Asian. So I had built him up in my head to be this Asian dude, and so I started calling him Mr. Miyagi. So whenever I refer to Brandon as Mr. Miyagi, this is why. So I'm like telling all my guys, I'm like, dude, this Asian guy, he's coming in hot with a driver and an assistant. Like, he's like, I need a deal by tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and if it's not signed, I'm going with them. And like, he's like,
dude, I was hard closing.
Yeah,
right
he's
there.
like, I need the money.
Pressing.
He's like, I'm gonna be this, and this, and he's just like coming at me hard. And I was like, wow, this guy's like very direct and very upfront. Like, this is not my normal recruiting meeting. I'm not ready for this.
I was definitely putting the screws on people that day.
Dude, I was like...
Oh, dude, it was tough to handle.
It was so hard. Like, I want to have this kind of dinner, this kind of sign-on, this kind of this. And I was like, okay. And I'm kind of like trying to get some big hitters, like having somebody that, you know, he was a big regional.
We were doing good then. We were doing like 200 plus deals just a month. And like back then, like, we really didn't hit the tempo, the volume that we're doing nowadays. Because like back then, everybody was like still trying to like understand the solar model. Like guys were still selling surveys, we're still pushing installs, but like No, we were still cranking a pretty decent amount just then.
No, I verified with John Frampton, which is the VP of Solar City. I was like, hey, is this Brandon Glover guy legit? He's like, yeah, he's kind of wacky, but...
A little crazy, but...
Hey,
so is my
but
production.
he slaps. Yeah, he's
Number
good.
one guy, but definitely hard to deal with.
Yeah, and I was like, I can see the hard to deal with. I was like, I think I can do this. Anyway, I land him. I recruit the guy.
He closed the crap out of me.
Closed him.
He did.
And...
I sat with like 10 people and Sam closed me.
I felt pretty good. To the point where he's like, all right, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to integrate. I'm going to move to Utah. And he stayed in my basement.
Yes, I did. You treated me like family, dude. I love you. I was going through some stuff and like Sam took me in as like a family friend. And I still to this day, I've never forgotten it, dude.
No, it was fun. I was like, I actually liked, like, crazy as he was, I was like, I actually really jive with this guy because he's like full of energy. Like when you meet Brandon, you just like, I was like so mind blown at your assurity and your energy and your just like way of doing things. I was like, dang, I need to be more like this guy. Like I was inspired. I really was. Well, come to find out, he just disappears one day.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's going through hard times.
Where you at? Dark. No social media. No phone. No nothing.
Ghosted.
Gone. Like what? You were there for a month, 2 months?
2 months. We were like kind of getting the like groundwork. We got like the first thing. I felt like we were getting stuff going, and then I just fell, and I just ghosted you completely.
No closure.
Nothing.
Disappeared. Like gone from the house. I was like, what the fuck?
Left him like a 19-year-old girlfriend with no clue.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
Well, what happened?
Well, dude. So like I was going through like real tough times, man. Like. If you ever had a time where like you were riding that high and then you ever hit like rock bottom, you know, and in the moments like you have to like realize that like when you're not in a place to lead, then you need to take yourself out of that place, right? And I started realizing that like I wasn't making good decisions and I wasn't making good decisions for my guys. So like I knew I had to remove myself from like the industry. I knew I needed to step back, reflect on who I was, and like get myself back on the right track. Because like to be a leader, you have to always put the team first. And if you're not in a position to put the team first, then like you can't lead. So like truthfully, what happened, Sam, is I just wasn't in a position to lead, and I knew it in my heart, and I had to go. And I'm sorry that you just happened to be the guy I ghosted, but I had to go on a road to redemption, and it wasn't a short road, dude. It was like a good like 3-4 years of like rebuilding, refocusing, making amendments with guys like you that I've done wrong. But I know at times like we make mistakes. Guys, remember this: mistakes we learn from, excuses destroy you. Like if we went back in time, I 100% did you wrong, right? I burned you. Sam gave me patience, gave me trust, and gave me friendship when I didn't deserve it. And how good are we now?
Solid.
Best friends, dog.
So, I thought he died. I'll be honest. I was like, you had said you had like people chasing you too. Like,
I don't know about all that, but yeah.
I don't know about, I was like, he's like, I might be in trouble. I was like, you're in trouble? Like,
I definitely got into situations out in California I didn't get out of, but yeah.
Okay, that's what it was. Because I was like, are you in trouble? Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, what'd you do?
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe you got snapped by the mafia or something?
Yeah,
like, I had no idea.
There was rumors, but they're all not true.
Okay, good to know. So he went through his 3-year hiatus and lived in a cave, basically.
Yeah, caved it up.
And went through some soul searching. And I'm in Lake Powell. I can vividly remember this. This is what, 2 years ago? A year ago?
Yeah, over about a year ago, dude.
About a year ago. I get a phone call. And it's like caller ID. It says Brandon Glover. And I was like, he's alive! No joke. I was like, wait, this is like a dude calling me from the dead? Like, what the heck?
He's alive.
He's alive! And he calls me, he's like, Sam. And he was really, like somber voice, like very like humble. And I was like, not the normal Brandon that I know. Like normal Brandon's like, look out! Like just fired up.
Hey, you boys know how it is.
And he's like, dude, I did you wrong. I'm trying to make amends with all my, people that I've hurt, and I've spent a lot of soul searching time, and I owe you a lot of money. So can I make it right? Of course, I'm sitting there like, I'm like, yeah, I'll take money. You took money from me. I was like, sweet. But more importantly, he was like, I don't know when, I don't know how much. I just want you to know that you're still on my radar. And it had been years, you know what I mean? And I was just like, for me, I said, I had two choices. And it was really interesting because I vividly remember this day. And I was like, okay, whatever you need to clear for you, I don't need the money, I don't need it, but I need to hold you to your integrity and allow you to go through this repentance and this like process for you. So whatever that needs to be for you, let it be that, because I don't want you to live the rest of your life not feeling like you made it amend or you fixed this. And, you know, and then kind of like, you might have gave a little bit, I can't remember, but not a ton. And then what's crazy is yesterday I get a random text. This was a year later. He's like, hey, what's your ACH? Here's 20 grand. Like, but it was just like, oh, cool. So one, it's fun to wake up to that text. And two, you know, it's still like your conscience, what's your integrity worth? And my mom,
everything.
My mom had always taught me that. She's like,
it's everything.
I'm literally in Mexico yesterday. I got slapped in the face. Like, homeboy brought the check to this like little cafe, and it wasn't like the total. And I'm with a friend, and I was like, and they were taking like 30 minutes to bring us our check. Like, it was just like, I'm like, I need to go. I'm gonna miss my flight. Like, we gotta go. And the dude was like, no, like, and he walks up, he's like, hey, you had our bill wrong. And I was like, slap. I was like, stop. And then I just thought of my mom, like, what's my integrity worth?
Yes.
Like 30 pesos? Yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean?
Dude,
and
I've like found out in life, like, everyone like feels like, I don't know if you've ever gotten the moment where you feel like you're like trying to take the easy way out, and like anytime that you start selling your integrity or selling your principles for either positioning or gain, it's like building your house on sand. And like, dude, I've seen guys make it very, very far. Shoot, I've made it very, very far when I was cutthroat as I was at times, and like, but eventually that momentum that you have, it will fall underneath you. Because when you sell your integrity and you sell your principles, you have nothing left.
And how many guys in this industry
have done it over and over again, and it always bites them. It always bites them.
And it's karma. It's like, it might be 5 years down the road, it might be 6 months down the road. I mean, he was one of the reasons why I created the salesblacklist.com, and it's still a thing. Like, I had two guys hit me hard, and I was like, F it. There shouldn't be dudes like this in this space. Because you took money from a couple people, didn't you? But like, you owed a couple people money.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was like, this guy can't go to another person. I got to stop him from going to somebody else. If that's the case, I can't contact him, and nobody would know. So like, one, that came from it, which is really cool. But two, like, I'm just sitting there going, man, you might even be the one listening to this podcast. I get guys texting me all the time. They're like, oh man, this company screwed me. They didn't pay me by back end. I'm like, well, did you take money from them? Did you fulfill your agreement?
You said you were going to do X, Y. And did you do it?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize is like, when in our industry, we get like so lost in like what business is. But like, when you make a commitment and you make a vow and you take money that's not earned, it's like, when you don't follow through with it, like, that is sure as a lie.
Yeah.
So
it's stealing. Like, it's theft. And then I see reps try to almost justify.
Trust me, in my road back, I've been burned myself. So it's like, have patience, be humble, and I try to think about what Sam did for me and what you did for me when I get burned, you know?
Yeah, it's I've gotten money and I've had to pay back money. I've definitely, and like, I tried to do it on the highest regard too. Like, I was like, hey, how do I like make this right? And that's how I've been able to cultivate. And Brandon has made amends with a lot of relationships. It's cool. He's able to like call people like me and not feel this guilt and shame and like this like, oh crap, I did him dirty. Like, it's like, hey, we forgive, we mess up. You're in a hard time. I know that you're going through something. I care more about you, the individual, and you're okay and safe than, like, honestly, I was like, wow, you're alive. Like, that was more important to me than like, oh, I'm paying you back. I was like, how are you doing?
Yes.
And to see he's married, he just had his first kid, living in this sweet home in Florida, crushing out. I mean, when you're doing 100 a week, like, you're making okay money in solar.
The bills are getting paid.
His rent's paid.
The house is cash. Actually, we bought the house cash.
His rent is paid. We just Airbnb this really bougie house in Florida to do the podcast. But anyways, doing okay.
Airbnb this
No, just kidding. Okay, so so I wanted to tell that story to give like some preface to this podcast, and then obviously we want to give you some like nuggets. But like, you've been able to, one, influence and lead big teams. You're a big regional at Solstice. You've now built up to 150 something reps. I really do kind of want to talk about your principles of leadership and just like how you effectively grow, how do you effectively grow a team like that fast? How do you go get these guys popping?
So one, shout out to the standard. We set the standard, everybody else follows. The thing is like, so you go in your day-to-day as like a leader, and you're like, you have to follow a few core decisions. So the biggest thing that I've found is like, you have to embody the team comes first in every action and every breath. Once you realize that like your ability to succeed for yourself has only so much capacity, right? And I realized once I actually got my managers working together, once I got my team fully working together, it's something that Sean Brinchley taught me. I asked Sean, like, what's the biggest advice that you could give me? And he said, get your guys to work together. And I noticed like during like Q1, Q2 of last year, like we were doing good. We have a lot of talent, but like we were bottlenecking at growth. And it wasn't until I really got my guys to start working together that we started seeing like the biggest return. So remember, team comes first in every aspect and every breath, right? Hard times make hard men, so don't look for the easy way out. There's no shortcuts in this industry, trust me. I tried and it fails. You have to actually be obsessed. Sam, you ever played a sport? Athlete, right? Anytime a guy's like coming into this industry, and let's say it's their like first few weeks, right? And they're like, dude, like what is like the biggest thing I need to focus on to like start leveling up? And I tell the guys like, dude, we're in two jobs. We're in sales and we're in personal development. Mm-hmm. And the thing is like getting the right mindset of understanding like, hey, this isn't a job. This is an opportunity. And like the best way to look at it is like, we're athletes, we're playing a sport, we're having to get out there and train, we're gonna have to actually get out there and care about winning. Like you have to actually execute. Cause like, have you ever had a job before door to door? I know it's tough, you're just an OG.
I've never
guess
had
what
a
guys,
job.
I have, and it sucks, but when you have a regular job, it's like, you're only gonna go and do what that job needs you to do, right? Cause let's say you're getting like $30 an hour. Well, you're gonna only ever give like that $30 an hour effort. So if like you clock in for 8 hours, you're gonna be efficient for maybe 4 of them, right? Because you're only ever pushing to like what you need to do. And if you don't ever actually figure out that this industry is a sport and that you're competing and that you're training and you're trying to level up who you are to unlock compounding effort, right? Because the thing is like, let's say hypothetically, Sam did have a job. And let's say hypothetically, like I was your boss, right? Well, Sam can be like the best worker in the world, but if he's at $20 an hour, he can go out and outwork everyone around him. How much are you gonna get paid?
$20 an hour.
And like, it's really hard for guys to understand the mindset. Like if you go home, let's say that you're a candle maker, right? And like you're the best candle maker in the world, and you go home, you study how to make candles, and you get so efficient. Does your pay go up? No. And you have to wait for someone to like notice it or look at it, right? I always tell my guys is like, our industry, being door to door, being a commission-based job, like we unlock unlimited potential when we actually invest our time into ourselves, right? And what I mean by that is like, dude, you go out and you train and you work hard and you bust your butt and you put the team first and you really do that, you will start leveling up. And guess what? When you get paid that following Friday? In our industry, when you level up who you are, your checks follow. So like, it is always very vital for everyone to understand is like, how much effort you spend knocking on them doors to get them customers, you have to have that same energy and that same mindset, like almost like religiously every day, focusing on how you're improving yourself. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So how do you start that muscle? I feel like, you said there's a compound on effort, like a compounding effort. But yet the compound effect goes where it's like, it doesn't double quickly. You know what I mean? It has a bell.
So here's the best way to work. Like my wife's one telling me like I'm getting the dad bod, right? So like she's roasting me to get back in the gym. Like, have you ever like not worked out in the gym for a while, but you need to get back into it?
Yeah.
You know, like when like you're like, okay, next week I'm gonna go get back into the gym, right? You ever get like nervous thinking about, now I gotta get back into the gym?
Yeah, like I know what that looks like.
So like everyone wants to know, like me guys, I'm a workaholic. For sure, hands out, like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. Ask my guys, it's ridiculous. I love it. But I didn't start that way, right? I didn't start off with that need to work, that need to win, like with that capacity, right? Or that bandwidth to do it. I tell guys is like, when you get that nervous feeling of like needing to go out there and put 12, 14, 15 hours a day, and it's like, you're gonna feel anxiety. it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna feel the pressure of the weights. But like when you're working out your first few weeks, do you not notice like that's when you notice a lot of the changes right away and improvements, and that like motivates you? Well, that same thing will happen. You go out and you start putting extreme work ethic in. You start like scheduling out and planning your day. That's another thing. We'll talk about time in a minute, and that's gonna be vital to this. But when you start planning out your day and you go out and you're starting to work hard, you'll notice them 4 or 5 hours you're putting in extra outside of the doors. You'll start seeing that return the first 2 weeks, and you'll be motivated, right? So like during the first few weeks of when you're working out or when you're going out and training, you're gonna have to push yourself to do it. But once you do that, you're gonna see the results and you're gonna want to do it. What's gonna happen is, you ever know a guy that's just like ripped and shredded and goes to the gym all the time? You ever hear a guy say like, dude, I need to go to the gym, or I just don't feel right?
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
100%, right? And they're usually studs, right? Well, the same thing with like work ethic and execution and winning. Winning is a habit, and so is losing. I've learned that too. So like what happens is like over time, you start going from the I need to work hard to I want to work hard to like, it is like part of who your like DNA is.
Yeah.
Like I get up every morning at 5 o'clock, regardless when I go to bed. It's just like, that's my mechanism now. And it didn't start that way. It wasn't easy at first. Like I had to force myself for like a year straight of like getting up at 5 a.m. no matter what. If I stayed up too late with friends or the wife, or if I worked too late, like I had to get up at 5 because that was like my like compass and my center, right?
Yeah.
But over time, with compounding efforts, if you keep pushing yourself, right, you never know, like, dude, Sam, it wasn't that long ago, a couple years ago, I was in your basement, right?
Yeah.
And I was coming from very humble beginnings, but like in our industry, you ever hear how the rich get richer? And they always say like, dude, once you have enough money, like you can't really go poor unless you're smart with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like guys need to realize that time and money is the exact same thing. So the same way that like you hear about all these millionaires or billionaires, how they invest their money properly in the stock market, and like you ever like, your guys are always telling you like, hey, be smart with your money, right? What I tell my guys is like, be smart with your time. It's, I think at times like we find fluff, we find comfort, we try to soothe ourselves with like watching TV too long or this. Like if you ever find yourself bored, that's due to poor planning. And so I always tell my guys is like, respect your time, like be very, very cautious of it. Like, dude, you know how like reps in the track, how many doors they knock? Mm-hmm. Like you gotta track like how many hours of efficiency you're having in a day. And I think like at times that's like has been a huge changer for me. So.
No, I think that's huge. Like I was with a company a week ago and I was mapping out like how they disseminated leads. Like they kind of have leads all over DFW. And I was like, dude, and I started quizzing the reps. I started being like, okay, how much time do you spend driving in between homes, going to your appointments? And then what percent of no-shows do you have? And then it said like, how inefficient, like you really only talk to 1 or 2 people a week or a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then
some microtransactions at times, a 20-minute here, a 30-minute there, the this, the that, and it just compounds.
And then 5 of those a day.
4 or 5 hours in a day, yeah.
And so I was like, cool, you don't get paid to drive. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I go, 4 or 5 hours a day in your car, and I probably tell you how many miles are on your truck. And I was like, you times that by 300 days working, or however many days you work, 200 and something days. And I'm like, now tell me you can't make a ton of money. I was like,
yeah.
What if I just shaved off 2 hours of that, 3 hours of that, and like help
put that back in your pocket?
Put that back, yeah. And I'm like, I don't need to teach you to be better at selling. I don't need to teach you anything, but just stop driving around so much, guys. Like start just going in the same neighborhood and concentrate, and don't chase all these squirrels, and and it's a common thing.
I think like in sales, it's something that helped me is like, if you ask the guys I work with now, they're like, I'm like the over-organized spreadsheet guy. But like what's giving me success is like in sales, we're usually very charismatic, high energy, extremely talented people, but organizational skills usually lack. Yeah. So like as a leader, if you're like wanting to lead men and you're wanting to level up, like a leader will always provide strength where like his overall common weaknesses with his teams. And so like if you're a sales guy and like you want the fastest way to level up, get extremely organized. Get extremely organized with your routine, with your time, like center yourself. I challenge all my managers and all my regionals that work under me is I plan out my entire month, day by day, Monday through Sunday, in every hour blocker, right? And it's like, does it take a long time? Yeah, dude, I spend 2 hours a month replanning my rest of my month, and then I have to spend like at least 3 hours a week during a section to like map out my entire bi-weekly plan, because I have an in-state routine, then I have an out-of-state routine when I fly out to other markets. And it's like, is it like a tedious job to do? Yes. But what it does, it gives me the freedom to know that I can go out and operate and have the highest return on the most valuable asset I own, and that's my time.
Yeah, huge. So so you kind of have these guiding principles of leadership. Kind of walk me through.
Yeah, we'll pop off a few of them.
Yeah, let's pop through these.
Key thing for leadership, let's go ahead and run through them. We talked about it. The team comes first in every action, every breath. Okay, that's just always making sure the team identity is before yourself. Like, I know we do this job for money. I know we go out there and we have bills, but like, you have to be a team player, and you have to care about your guys, and you have to have a common mission, right? You work for your guys do not work for you. Okay, so if you have leadership that's leveling up right now, like, you need to realize and you need to own up to that, is like, them guys do not work for you. You have to work for them and serve them, okay? No one is more valuable than the team. Everyone is valued from the first week. So even guys like me and Sam, like, dude, 10 plus year vets, we've built teams, we've done this, la-di-da-di. Dude, that setter, that guy that's coming out his first 2 weeks, first on door, like, that guy has the same value as us. And that has to be shared throughout the entire team and throughout the entire region. Because like, once you have that identity and that new setter of 2 to 3 weeks feels that value being a part of the team, like, they will rise based off the expectations that the team puts on them. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, I love that.
Make the hard choices for the right reasons. Guys, like, in this industry, like, we both have learned together, like, there has come times where, like, sometimes you're looking at path of growth and you're looking at two routes to take, right? Just remember that, like, the path that takes courage usually is the path that takes growth, right? And never try to find yourself looking for comfort, right?
Love that.
Always be patient, always be humble. That's a lesson that Sam actually taught me, because this dude right here could have freaking ringed me, called me, cursed me, and like, dude, he gave me love, and he gave me patience, and he gave me friendship. And you're one of the people that really like put me back on a good path and like has made all the difference in my life, dude.
Thanks.
So like, just as a homie, I love you, dude.
Love that.
Okay, mistakes we learn from, right? But excuses will destroy us. And what I mean by that is like, dude, you're gonna make mistakes. I've made so many. And like, I'm telling you, like, as you go through your careers, whether you're 1 year in, 5 years in, 10 years in, I'm still making mistakes, but I'm still learning from them. And that's the difference. When you make that excuse, that'll destroy you.
Especially as a leader.
Like, oh God, yeah.
Like, just know, like, if you're a rep right now and you're like, man, my manager keeps messing up, or my leader or whatever, it's like, duh, they're going to. Where you can call them out is when they start making excuses of why they keep messing up and they don't take ownership over it.
Yeah.
And then also where you got to come from is like, hey, you're making mistakes too, probably. So just take ownership of your stuff. You know what I mean? So like,
it's always a two-way streak at times, right? So maintain accountability at all costs. Without accountability, you have nothing, guys. Like, seriously, in this industry, like if you say you're going to do something, like, you need to drive yourself to do it, because like, it's not really accountability to say like, oh, my quota is 10 this, or my quota is 8. It's like, you yourself, when I said before, winning's a habit, right? Well, so is losing and breaking promises to yourself. And like, people don't understand. It's like, if you say you're gonna go out there and do it, like, you need to give everything you got to hit what you're gonna say, that goal. And it's fine. Like, hey, if you have a goal of 10, you gave everything you got and you hit 8, I love you for it. But if you like coast because you feel like, hey, whatever, 8 out of 10 is fair, that's you not doing what you're capable of doing. And what happens is, over time, that becomes a routine for you. And the next thing you know, you're only ever gonna live up to the expectations that some other guy or manager or leader has given you. So you'll never have a true identity of your own. So you have to always go out there and do what you're capable of doing. You have to always get out there and push, because over time, you will keep leveling up, you'll keep rising. And it's funny where this will really go once you really have compounding efforts, right?
Yeah, I love that.
So, phone stuff. Always be a leader before their friend. Dude, you want to talk about a hard lesson to learn. And like, this one took me like a good 6-7 years. When you guys hear me say this, they're like, what, I can't like manage and work with my homies? No, I'm friends with every dude I work with. I like even guys that I don't meet or know, like, next thing you know, they're in the office day in, day out. Next thing you know, we're best friends. Like, you already know, most of your dudes that you work with, are they the homies? But if you're gonna be the one that leads them and you made that choice to be their leader, you brought them in, like your job as a leader and your duty to be their brother comes way before a friendship. So like you cannot allow the comfort zone of that friendship to stand in the way of what you need to do as a leader to hold them accountable and to push them to be the best version of themselves. So always a leader before the friend. Okay, have structure, have a schedule, have a plan. Dude, off the hip is good for a lot of people in this industry. I know it. I used to be the most off the hip type of guy, but what will happen is like you'll bottleneck at your talent level. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of very, very talented dudes in our industry that could like rise and multiply and do 10 times more if they just have structure and organization. Because like your talent will only take you so far in life until you can harness it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, I'm always telling guys is like, dude, get the structure down so that you can have the bandwidth and the capacity to level up and then you can rise. But if you don't do that and you don't put a good foundation at first, you'll only depend on your talent. And when you're running off emotion, which dude, I do a lot, and you know that, you'll do this, right? But you need to have a structure that can keep you solid because that structure will slowly keep rising and keeping up. But if you go off emotion, you'll keep going through the dips. Does that make sense,
I watch this all the time.
I know,
would say
dude.
This is probably this one hits home because, you know, your habits, your discipline, the structure is what's going to keep that talent flowing versus like the peaks and the valleys of like you said, emotional action. Meaning it's like when I feel like it, I'll do it because, you know, and I can turn it on like that. So if I need to turn it on, I know I'll turn it on. And I'm like, well, why don't you just always have it on? Like, why doesn't the structure tell you when it's on and off? Instead of like, oh, I need to turn it on now. I'm like, no, like it shouldn't be an on and off switch all the time.
Yeah, guys, like, it's like when you're constantly having to like go from like start and then like ramp yourself up, it's like you're gonna bottleneck heavy, I'm telling you.
Huge.
And for you guys, for all you managers out there that I'll tell you, you know what one of the most uncomfortable growth points was for me is when I was going from like, I'm the best manager, I'm the best manager, I'm number one, to like, I'm a subpar regional. Like, dude, I remember when I like first started to try to like multiply my teams, I found so much restriction based on like, I didn't have enough bandwidth to get to all my guys. I didn't have the structure and foundation to get to all my guys. And that was vital for me to get organized, right? Like right away, get organized because as a manager, right, when you're running one team or you're a good sales trainer or going out and working with guys, a lot of times in this industry, we try to do heavy addition, right? And what I mean by that is like, you ever have like one of your offices that you show up into and like, if you're there and you're leading the charge that day or that week, they're gonna kill it. But as soon as like you leave or you're there or you're gone for like 2 or 3 weeks, sales do what? They're gone, you know?
Sometimes days.
Yeah.
You're gone for a day. It's like, where did everybody go?
I've been gone for hours.
Yeah.
I gotta get food and that stuff goes down. No, but so I tell guys is to like, dude, instead of like looking at like how you lead by from an addition standpoint, like instead of micromanaging or trying to like do everything, like you need to like start putting behaviors with your guys that create multiplication. Like me, when I'm training my guys, I'm going through their thought process. I'm trying to change behaviors. I'm trying to develop the way that their decision making is being done. If you try to micromanage and control your guys, they'll never actually rise as leaders. And then you will never rise for them and you'll bottleneck right there. And guys, one thing you have to always do as a leader, no matter how good you are, you have to stay humble. I am always putting time in with guys like Sam. I'm always taking classes. I'm always trying to learn from guys like Sam that have like paved the way and helped guys like me like really get going in these industries. It's like, dude, no matter how much you've done, like, dude, we did 18.2 megawatts in sales last year. And I am constantly learning day in, day out how I can become a better leader because the only way my guys below me level up that I work for is that I'm constantly dedicated to improving who I am on a personal level, on a business level, on a whole person paradigm level. So I make sure I instill them behaviors and values and it multiplies throughout my region versus me just showing up and doing a great motivational spill for a day or a week.
100%. So yeah, what else? Is that all the ones?
That's pretty much guiding principles. Like, dude, here's my big, like I tell you, I'll repeat it again. Hard times makes hard men. Don't look for the easy way out. Okay? Like, I can't tell you enough that like all the stuff that I went through in these 10 years of doing this industry has like humbled me and shaped me. And like, I can honestly say I've never been happier in a better place than I am now. I got a beautiful baby girl, gorgeous wife. I got homies like Sam.
What was it that like, what had to happen, or what was it that just finally was like, oh my gosh, I need to make these changes? Like, how did you snap out of it? Because
I started caring about my people more than I care about myself.
You're like,
dude, when you're a leader, and if you ever choose yourself over your people, you've lost everything. And I think in my earlier career, like I did love my guys, but I also loved what my guys could do for me. And I loved what I could get, and I loved the money, and I loved this. And like, guys, money's gonna come. Man, like, I'll tell you what, I've made, ever since I started following these principles, I've made more money than I've ever made in my entire life in a few months. But when I was out there only looking for money, and I was trying to look for a deal, and I was trying to, dude, how hard of a negotiator was I? When
It was amazing.
Bro, I used to walk in and F up owners left and right. Like, I'd get what I want, whatever I wanted, when I wanted it. But the whole thing is when you have that mentality, you lose sight of what's important, and you'll never build something that's gonna stand for 10 plus years. Dude, anytime that you're working with guys, you wanna keep the end in mind. Never sell yourself short, and never sell your guys short. Never put yourself before them ever. That's what changed for me, is when I actually started following the principles we preach. There's a lot of hypocrites in this industry, and you gotta really mean what you preach out here. And like, there's plenty of guys that talk the talk, but leaders, you gotta always walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I think like I had a humbling experience. I got married, I settled down, and I thought like, dude, like, what kind of man am I? What's my integrity worth?
Yeah.
And I realized there's not a dollar amount that I'll sell it for. And I'm just glad guys like you had patience.
No, I'm just like you, learning my own journey.
Yeah, dude, we make mistakes though, right?
Hey, I'm serious though. Like, even you just saying that, I'm like, oh man, like, because it's so easy to kind of put yourself all in the spotlight and take, right? Instead of having this, like, I'm here to guide and serve and hold a space for somebody else to grow. And like, you know, in the position I'm in, like, a lot of people look up to me, or like I manage a lot of like owners or whatever. And it's like, even then I'm like, oh man, like, how do I keep shining the light back on them and making them the all-stars and giving them the structures that they're looking for? And like, you know, and that's when I'm finding the most value, or people, you know, it's like the mantra I have is like, I will provide so much value that people gladly give me their money. In your sense, it's like, I'll provide so much value and change so many lives that they'll gladly work for me and feel extreme reciprocation.
Money's a byproduct of success, guys. Like, you should never get out, and like, you should never be out there working your tails off for like this dollar amount that you want to earn. You have to like find your mission, and find the mission that you and your team are on together, and the vision that y'all share, and that's what you work for.
Yeah, I love that.
Ours was to be the largest division and region at AK. 50% of volume, we did it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Dude, when you're talking about guys, is like, everyone asks like what makes us successful. It really is the people in there. You care if I do a couple shout outs to some homies?
Yeah, shout them out.
So hey, Palm Bay, Joey Sissio, Vez Salone, crushing it. Their region's doing 40 plus a week. They got 2 teams. Matt, Noah out there in Port St. Lucie. I love you, homies. They're upcoming managers that just launched, straight dominating. I got Cole Krimmer out there. He has all these Orlando teams, Daytona teams. They're cranking almost a freaking 40 deals a week as well. And Capital Glass out there in Fayetteville. That's the hardest PRA hitting team with the lowest 12% attrition. Blake Myers, Cole Myers, Alex Hebel, all you boys, Joey Scariano. I love you, gentlemen, and thank you for what you do for the standard and leading the way.
That is so cool. I mean, very few times I get like the managers or owners shouting other people like that. Like, just goes to show, like,
hey, and John Scappin, dude, I could sit here all day and name all these people, because like, honestly, I promise you, like, we all work like so hard, and like every person on our team is on the mission, and every person like sees the vision of what we're building here for the next 5 to 10 years, and it's humbling.
That's so cool. That's cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This has been
dude
fire. Hey,
bro,
guys.
You're the one, dude. You've led the path for a lot of us guys, even like myself, to like, you know, actually do this business for the right reasons. I know a lot of guys are out there like trying to make the, you know, hard decisions every day for the right reasons. Dude, just stick to it. Stick to the principles that you know that in your heart are right. Never sell your integrity. And if you've done something bad, dude, make amends.
Love that. Okay, go subscribe, share this. Leave a comment, and do something about it. Like, if you need to make amends with somebody, go make amends.
Go make amends.
If you need to go, you know, own some of your mistakes, own some of your mistakes. But we're here to support you, and hopefully you got some good value out of this. And see you guys on the next episode.
Later, boys.